Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Hi. I love the vibe in the room. Everyone is so excited. It's a good buzz, maybe a little too good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I am so thrilled to host you all at Falling Walls Lab Edmonton competition. Are you ready to be inspired? Because, yeah, me too. It's time. It's time for Falling Walls Lab Edmonton, and just mingling with the crowd ahead of the start of the event tonight. I was talking to people that were, and everybody that has been to 3MT or Falling Walls all says the same thing, that their faith in humanity is restored after they come to these competitions. So let's get right into it. My name is Dr. Tracy Raivio. I'm the Vice-Provost and Dean of the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies here at the University of Alberta, and it is my pleasure to be your MC for today's event. I want to start by acknowledging the land on which we're holding this competition and gathering today. We are meeting today on Treaty 6 territory, and it's important for us as a university community to acknowledge our respects for the histories, the languages, and the cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence is so important for creating the inclusive, diverse, and vibrant community we need to advance our learning and discovery mission. Welcome to all of you. I am so happy to see you. To the friends and supporters joining us in person here in the Edmonton Clinic Health Academy, and those joining us online from Alberta, Saskatchewan, and around the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to have so much fun today. We're so glad you're here to join us in celebrating the work of 15 outstanding young researchers. They have really powerful stories to tell about research that can change the world. In case you're new to Falling Walls, I'd like to offer some background on the competition, just to underscore what these young people have already accomplished just by being here today. Falling Walls Lab is a pitch competition with a difference. So participants have just 3 minutes to explain their research and convince viewers that it's especially innovative and will make a big impact on the world. They can use a pair of slides to support their talk, and other than that, it's all up to them. They have to marshal all of their enthusiasm, their ideas, and their creativity to win you over. And it's no small stakes that they're competing for today. The top presenter will win a trip to Berlin to compete in the global finale. They'll represent our community in the University of Alberta on the world stage, and we'll have a chance to speak to and learn from and network with outstanding researchers from around the world. But really, that's just a small part of the Falling Walls story, because every one of our finalists benefit enormously from challenging themselves to take part in this competition. The program gives them confidence, it builds communication skills, and the finalists discover that language that can help them advocate for their research in a variety of situations. These might include writing grant applications, teaching undergraduates, and speaking to the general public about what they do. They also get a crash course in delivering a research pitch, thanks in part to two of our colleagues, Peter Keith, the director of the eHub Ideas Lab, and Savannah Lane, a U of A startup specialist. Peter and Savannah joined our finalists for group coaching sessions and contributed wonderful ideas and feedback. I'm not sure that Peter and or Savannah is here. Oh, Peter? Peter is here. Yay, thank you, Peter. So appreciate your time. And if you want to know how much this all means to the finalists, just ask them. We have some of our alumni joining us tonight, including, I believe, Lily Jo. Lily Jo, are you out there? She didn't make it yet. Hopefully she'll arrive. One of last year's winners. Is there anyone else previously that competed in Falling Walls that is here that I can recognize? No? Okay. Okay. Now, speaking of special guests, I want to extend a warm welcome to all of the University of Alberta donors joining us today. Thank you so much for your support. And we want to tip our hats to members of the Kwaikumkwa Wera Honor Society who are here for the celebration. Thank you for your investment in learning and discovery at the University of Alberta. And finally, a special welcome to some of the leaders of our community. Please join me in welcoming our Deputy Provost Students and Enrollment, Melissa Padfield. Thank you, Melissa, for being here. And we're also joined by department chairs, deans, members of the Senate, Board of Governors, and Alumni Council. I know of a few people that are here, probably not an exhaustive list, but we have from Alumni Council, Chris Vilksack. Are you here, Chris? Where are you? Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. We have Chris Peacock here from the University Senate. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you being here. We also have Associate Dean Grad from Nursing, Kara Schick-Makarov, for being here. And I know from wandering the audience just prior to the start of our event today that there's many family and friends and members of the university community that have come out because their interest is piqued about what's going to happen at this competition, and they're looking forward to learning more. So thank you to everyone for being here. Okay, now it's time to introduce 5 people who are playing a very important role in today's event, the distinguished members of our jury and the people that are going to have to work the hardest tonight. They come from various backgrounds and they bring all sorts of expertise. Each of them is very well positioned to offer our finalists advice, insights, and wisdom. The first person I want to introduce is Sophia Aziz. Sophia, maybe you can give a wave. Sophia is the founder of Potentia Business Solutions, a boutique consulting firm that partners with mission-driven entrepreneurs to build sustainable, scalable businesses. Sophia specializes in transforming vision into action. She combines strategic insight with operational expertise to help micro-businesses optimize their structure, align their people, and implement practical systems that enable clarity, accountability, and growth. Thank you again, Sophia, for coming back. We so appreciate having you here. Our next jury panelist or member is Debby Burshtyn. I'm waving at you too. I'm so thrilled to have Debby back. Debby is a University of Alberta professor and a former dean of graduate studies. She's now at the University of Saskatchewan, where she is the dean of graduate and postdoctoral studies. Debby's also an accomplished researcher who discovered the defining motif for human immune inhibitory receptors and continues to research on their genetic variation in relation to chronic virus infections. Thank you, Debby. It's so good to have you back at the U of A. Next up, we have Darren Fast, returning jury member. Thank you, Darren, for being here. Darren is Associate Vice President, Innovation, Knowledge, Mobilization, and Partnerships in the Office of the Vice President, International and Enterprise here at the University of Alberta. His role is to develop and support a clear innovation strategy for the university, utilizing and coordinating existing resources across campus and the community. Thanks so much for coming back, Darren. We're grateful for you. Next, we have Peter Vecloth. Peter is, I think, a new jury member this year. Peter, this is your first time? Yeah? Excellent. We're so happy to have you. Peter is the Executive Director at Alberta Advanced Education, leading policy and program priorities in relation to international education, research commercialization, and innovation. He has a long history of working in the government with industry, academia, and diverse stakeholders, and he holds a PhD from the University of Alberta, and his current professional activities build on his past research work. Thank you so much for joining us, Peter. I hope we can corral you into future Falling Walls competitions. Finally, joining the jury is our own Renee Polzine, Director of our Professional Development Team in the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. I'm so grateful to have Renee as part of the jury. She's very busy with the team this week offering our graduate teaching and learning program, so this is a brief step away from that to celebrate all of the accomplishments of these 15 finalists. And Renee and her team are pivotal in the professional development that graduate students receive at the University of Alberta beyond the thesis research and the coursework that they engage in. And they host and create and engage with graduate students across the year in a variety of professional development activities that build on communication skills, foster engagement, and build community amongst our graduate students at the University of Alberta. And there you have it, your Falling Walls Lab jury. Let's give them one more round of applause. They deserve a lot of thanks, because we are asking a lot of them tonight. And now, having introduced Darren, I want to acknowledge the significant contributions of the Office of the Vice President, International and Enterprise. They played a big role in funding this event and helping our winner to travel to Berlin. Darren, do you want to come down and say a few words on behalf of the office and the University of Alberta?
Perfect, and thank you for having me here. This is one of these really, really exciting events as I look at my portfolio, which is innovation, knowledge mobilization, and partnerships. And you probably go, that's a lot of words, but what does it actually mean? So what our goal is to take the great research that we do here at the university and move it out into the community. That might mean starting a new company. That might mean licensing a technology to an existing company. It might mean bringing outside partners back in to pair with our researchers. So for you presenters, this is exactly what we want to do. We want to create impact at the university, and this is how we do that. This is one of the ways. And so if you or anyone else in the audience has some research results that they think may have commercial potential, we want to talk to you. We've got a number of resources, both within the university and outside. One of the great ones I'd really encourage you to apply for if you're thinking about taking your stuff forward is something called Lab to Market. We've got that deadline coming up real soon. We teach people how to assess the market for whatever their research result might be. And I would say that is amazing because people often come in, of course I know the market, I've been researching this for a long time, they're almost always wrong because the market is looking for something different. But we can help you with that. And then we've got some other programs with support, we've got pitch training, we've got lots of mentorship opportunities, we've got some funding if you're creating a startup. So really a great opportunity to move this forward. And now, I have been to the Falling Walls competition in Germany, obviously not as a participant, but as an observer. Whoever wins this is in for a treat. And if anybody else has the opportunity to go. Take advantage of it. It is an amazing couple of days where you just see the entire world come and share these amazing ideas that could make the world a better place. So I'm really looking forward to today. Thank you for having us here. We're very excited.
Okay, thanks so much, Darren. Now, here's some exciting news. Falling Walls Lab Edmonton has a wide reach this year with presenters hailing from across Alberta and Saskatchewan. So this is now a, pan-prairie province event. And we couldn't have done it without our partners, the College of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies at the University of Saskatchewan. So I'd like to invite Debby down to bring greetings on behalf of our friends and colleagues at the University of Saskatchewan. Debby.
Thank you, Tracy. Good afternoon to everyone, presenters, honored guests, and fellow judges. It's really wonderful feeling to be back here at University of Alberta for this inspiring event and to be able to bring you greetings on behalf of the University of Alberta. I will mention that USask is also situated on Treaty 6 territory in the homeland of the Métis, and I thank Tracy for starting us off in such a good way, honoring those Indigenous people who have walked these lands since time immemorial. So we are really grateful for this collaboration. This is the second year that USask has been involved in the Falling Walls, and it's really, for us, our university is really committed to seeing our research through to innovation and impact. It's kind of our tagline. We aspire to be a university the world needs. And I think, right now, it's so important to recognize that having the public actually understand the impact of our researchers and the innovations that they're producing it gets more and more important every day. And while we're here to celebrate, it's hard to not think that, the challenges of the world right now, where maybe we're building a few more walls instead of knocking them down, that these bright, young change makers are going to they are our hope for the future. And really, that is one of the things about this competition, focusing on early career researchers instead of the bigwigs that I love so much. We changed that. So to the 15 presenters today, congratulations on making it to the finals. And lastly, a bit of a shout out to all of your mentors and coaches and supporters who are here today, and I think some of you joining online. And I just want to mention Kanisha Blair from USask, who's worked with our entrants and been collaborating with Rob and his team. So I will close now so we can get on with the show.
Okay, thank you, Debby. And now for our program. Here's how this is going to work today. Each presenter, as I told you previously, will have 3 minutes to present their pitch. They'll share images on 2 static slides, and we'll welcome your applause when each presenter is done. After that, we'll pause for 60 seconds to give the judges a chance to tally their results. And during that time, the next presenter will get in place, and we'll announce their names. So for the proceedings, I am now going to turn things over to Rob Desjardins from the GPS Professional Development Team to announce the presenters.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And our first 5 finalists will speak to topics ranging from friendly prostheses to super fast photography and effective support for neurodivergent children. In order, they are Mahdi Naderinejad, Howe Simpson, Ishnoor, Kaur, Nahal, Ivan Ma, and Devipriya, Raju. The first 5. Breaking the wall of non-intuitive prostheses, Mahdi Naderinejad.
Hello, everyone. Can I get everyone to point your finger at one of these red circles, please? Yeah, thank you. For us, it's second nature. But for 40 million people worldwide who've lost a limb, an upper limb, that's impossible. Every year, 1.3 million people lose an upper limb. Only 10% of this population wear a prosthetic device. This number for lower limb loss is 70%. There is a striking contrast that comes from frustration. These devices often fail to follow users' intention, and that's why they feel like strapping on a lifeless machine. So, 44% of the users abandoned their devices just within the first year. And it's not just physical. 1 in 3 people with limb loss experience anxiety and depression. So the need for a better solution is critical for these affected individuals. Current control methods in the world rely on brain signal or muscle signals as input signals to move these devices, but they have limitations. They come with complicated, expensive, and heavy hardware, and more importantly, they take intense mental effort from the users to learn and to operate. But there's one intuitive ability still overlooked: vision. What we tried with the red circles was that before the hands move, our eyes found the target and our arms followed. So this is the concept that our research has proven, and now we're implementing that in our novel solution. For the first time here at the University of Alberta, in our research team, we made that happen so the prosthetic arms follow the intentions driven by vision. All it takes is this simple, lightweight pair of glasses. No complicated hardware, no tutorial. And this simplicity cuts costs by almost 60%. Now with this change in feasibility, accessibility, and ease of use, usage could grow from that 10% to 55%, helping about 700,000 more people every year. Beyond this application, we can also use the same approach and technology to trigger new innovation processes. As an example, manufacturing robots can now interact seamlessly with humans in a shared environment just by following where the users look. This is a groundbreaking innovation that delivers deep impact and long-lasting effects by restoring not only movement, but also independence and confidence in doing activities of daily living. So, one day, using this smart prosthetic device guided by vision, not only pointing to screens will be effortless for people, but also pointing to whatever is in the new horizons. Thank you.
Breaking the wall of filming the Ultrafast, Howe Simpson.
It's an amazing time for technology right now. Quantum computers are commercializing, solar cells are quickly advancing, but we're hitting a brink. While we understand fundamentally how these technologies work using theory and computational methods, we've never actually seen them with our own eyes. Why? These processes happen so small, down to the atomic scale, the building blocks of our universe. Not only are they small, they're extremely fast. Millions and millions and millions of events from these technologies happen in the blink of an eye. So you can understand that groups around the world have tried to combine these two things, but it's extremely difficult. But our group said, why not just film it? So our group is going to break the wall of filming the ultra-fast at the ultra-small. We already have technology that lets us see down to the atomic scale. So why not just add some time-sensitive element? And that element is called terahertz radiation. It's an invisible, low-energy infrared radiation that's actually tuned almost perfectly to the atomic motions that we want to look for. Let's bring the scale up. Let's say I'm a scanning tunneling microscope, and you are all single atoms. I can map out this room with amazing precision and even see all your enthused faces to my presentation. But if some exciting event should occur, like this balloon pops, I'm not fast enough to gauge your reaction during the popping of the balloon, only the before and after. So now I add my terahertz radiation to my microscope. It acts like this pair of glasses that when, so much better. I can take snapshots in almost instantaneous time at any time I like. So, because I like to pop balloons, if another exciting event happens, I can now map out your reaction before, during, and after that event. And that's how our microscope works. We excite the atomic surface with some ultrafast energy, use a terahertz to probe its reaction, and take images at the same time. I can stitch all those images together, literally creating movies of the quantum world. So now not only do I have the theory and the computational to actually understand these technologies, but now we can actually build technologies like quantum computers, solar cells, and a whole bunch of different other things based on the action of the physics and not the reaction of the data set. Terahertz scanning tunneling microscopy is not just another microscope. It's our window into the quantum world, helping us build the future atom by moving atom. Thank you.
Breaking the wall of behaviors of concern. Ishnoor, Kaur, Nahal.
Did you know that 4 out of 5 neurodiverse youth engage in behaviors of concern, such as hurting themselves or being aggressive towards others? This is an extremely underserved population that is met with insufficient healthcare supports, leading to out-of-home placements, school and community exclusion, and extremely high caregiver stress. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful treatments to reduce these behaviors isn't a new medication or therapy, but something as simple as sleep? Research shows that 4 out of 5 neurodiverse kids also experience significant sleep problems, where just one bad night of sleep can turn a calm, cooperative child into one who's kicking, screaming, and breaking things. So, sleep isn't just rest, it regulates the brain and body. And when sleep suffers, behaviors do too. And with this, the solution is surprisingly simple. Better sleep means better behavior. And here's the breakthrough. Sleep education, where youth and caregivers are taught simple, evidence-based strategies, is an effective treatment and low cost that can help rapidly transform sleep and with it behavior. But current interventions are inaccessible. They require too much time from already overwhelmed caregivers, and they often focus on one diagnosis, when in reality, most neurodiverse youth have multiple diagnoses, multiple conditions, and multiple complex needs. And pediatricians, the main and trusted medical expert for these young people, receive almost no training in sleep. So even when families ask for help, they may not get it. And with this highlights a key gap in our delivery. We need to change the way sleep education is being delivered, and that is what we did. Introducing Nova Sleep Care, the first intervention that is integrating sleep education directly into the clinical pathway, where youth and caregivers are already going for support, and designed with 38 neurodiverse youth, caregivers, and pediatricians. Nova Sleep Care is practical, user-friendly, and most importantly, rooted in real-world needs. And with Nova Sleep Care, pediatricians are guided by a practical reference tool where they can provide personalized sleep education support to match a child's unique needs in one clinical appointment, while walking families through small, manageable steps that they can do at home using a goal-setting tool. And afterwards, youth and caregivers are provided with targeted, concise handouts that they can help provide additional guidance to implement these strategies. And we're already seeing proof of concept. Nova Sleep Care can be accessed right now using our free website, where pediatricians are delivering it, families are using it, and children are starting to sleep better, improving their behavior. So Nova Sleep Care is more than basic handouts. It's a scalable, evidence-based solution that provides families a way to translate clinical advice into action and trains physicians and provides timely, tailored care, laying the foundation for better sleep, better behavior, and better days. Thank you.
This is the button forward, right?
Breaking the wall of Islet donor shortage, Ivan Ma.
Isn't it frustrating when you order a package online and it shows up damaged, sometimes even to the point where it's completely broken? Frustrating? Yes. But usually we just order another online and life goes on. But what if it doesn't? What if the contents of that package are life-changing, possibly even life-saving? In my research, that package is a pig pancreas, one that contains insulin-producing cells called islets that we can use to treat type 1 diabetes. Now, my project aims to optimize a preservation fluid that protects the pancreas during transportation. Because unlike a typical damaged delivery, a compromised pancreas can have devastating consequences. Every year, 6.7 million people die from diabetes-related complications, with type 1 diabetes being a lifelong autoimmune disease that completely destroys the body's ability to make its own insulin. Now, islet transplantation can restore insulin production and free patients from daily injections, but less than 5% of eligible patients actually receive one. The main limitation is the fact that there are just a very few number of donors available. Now, my work aims to open up an entirely new donor source, pig islets, an unlimited and scalable source. And yes, I did just say pigs. And this isn't just science fiction. This is actually happening right now in the real world, in other organ transplant fields. In just the last few years, we've seen several end-stage patients receive pig heart and pig kidney transplants. Let's apply this same concept to islet transplantation. However, there are still logistical hurdles we do have to overcome. These pig pancreases will need to be shipped to specialized facilities that can isolate these islets at a quality standard that we can use in a clinical setting. Now, current cold storage methods were designed for adult human organs, not pig tissue, and they only keep the pancreas viable for up to 12 hours. My project aims to extend that window to 24 hours or more by modifying the preservation fluid to protect the pancreas from tissue breakdown and to reduce cell death during transportation. Now, 12 hours allows for transportation from Edmonton to London, But 24 hours allows us to transport across the globe to somewhere like Tokyo. And our early findings already show that after 24 hours of storage, we can obtain viable islets capable of reversing diabetes in animal models. This proves that the concept works and makes it possible to scale up production for clinical trials and possibly other organ transplants too. By extending preservation time, we're turning what is once a fragile and easily broken package into one that can reliably deliver hope to patients around the world. Thank you.
Breaking the wall of MS treatment uncertainty, Devipriya, Raju.
Good afternoon, everyone. Imagine living with a condition where each new day is a possibility of getting a new disability, and no one can predict when and where it will strike. Well, that's the reality of the people living with MS condition, that's multiple sclerosis condition, a chronic autoimmune disease that affects your brain and spinal cord. MS can disrupt with your speech, vision, and other neurological functions based on where the lesions are formed in your brain. And the highlight of this disease is that there is no cure yet. So when a person is suspected for multiple sclerosis, the first step is to take a MRI where you can see the lesions, those red blobs, they are the lesions. And since there is no treatment available, there is no cure available, the doctors would prescribe a treatment plan for the symptoms. The symptoms are the results of the lesions and the placements of them. So the patient have to follow the treatment plan, and once they follow the treatment plan, they have to literally wait for the lesions to either grow, to change, or for the new lesions to appear. Basically, that means that they have to wait for the symptoms to change. So once the symptoms get changed, there will be another MRI, and there will be another plan, and this continues for their lifetime. Well, today, we will break this wall of uncertainty in MS treatment, because this wall has affected over 2.9 million people around the world, and unfortunately, one of those 3 people will eventually face irreversible disability progression. So how do we do that? Well, in my research, I have come up with the first practical AI system that can take in one unprocessed MRI scan with the current lesions and can predict how these lesions would change and where the new lesions would form 1 year into the future. And this happens with 88% of accuracy, which is clinically acceptable in this case. So now, with this prediction, the doctors and the patients need not wait for the symptoms to change. Instead, they can go for a preventive treatment plan in order to avoid the disability in total before it takes hold. And the impact is actually revolutionary, because 2.9 million people will be getting their personalized treatment plan. 50 billion MS drug market will be revolutionized with precision targeting, and the clinical trials can be fastened up through the selection of correct and right patients. And last but not least, healthcare can save billions through earlier intervention. And this is just the beginning, because as the system learns from more patients, it can not only predict the lesion changes, but also can help us to design a treatment plan that can avoid the lesions formation altogether and can diminish the existing lesions. So with this system, we are not just predicting the future, we are giving the doctors the power to change it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next 5 finalists are presenting on topics ranging from single-use plastics to rare disease therapies and the language of disability. In order, they are Kostiantyn Dmytriiev, Mariel Bonilla-Revelo, Harry Wilton-Clark, Argodeep Bose, and Emily Vilsack. Breaking the Wall of Breathlessness, Kostiantyn Dmytriiev.
Imagine this. You're at the airport, and you're finally at your gate. Then suddenly, gate change. Terminal C, boarding now. You rush. The terminal feels endless. Your lungs burn, chest tightens, and panic rising. For someone with healthy body, this rush through the airport is completely manageable. Your heart pumps harder, your blood vessels widen, and a new one gets switched on. Oxygen surges into your blood, and right before you'll hit the wall of breathlessness, you make the flight. But for people with pulmonary arterial hypertension, or PH, this fails. Their vessels are clogged with abnormal cells, narrowed, fewer in numbers at rest, and even more during exercise, which means body receives less oxygen and you run out of breath. Not when rushing through the airport, but from just walking slowly to the kitchen or today's Falling Walls Lab. This is what the wall of breathlessness look like. 200,000 people worldwide live with PH. 40% will die within 5 years, which is worse than many cancers. Current medications expand blood vessels, but they do not restore them, meaning people keep losing blood vessels over time, leaving the only option, lung transplantation. Expanding vessels is not enough. We are testing a new medication, sotatercept. Instead of widening the blood vessels, it restores the balance of cell growth. It may actually repair the damage and add back the healthy vessels. For the first time, treatment means not opening what remains, but restoring what was lost. In our study, the first of its kind, we are able to see how lungs' tiniest vessels switch on. By linking how well they open to how breathless someone is, we are finally able to connect these tiny changes within the lungs to the very real symptoms people live with. For people with PH, adding back healthy vessels means not just another meter on a treadmill, but strength to climb stairs or to catch a flight. This is not just a better test result, but a chance to live without fear. Running through the airport should end at the gate, not at a wall. And for people with PH, even going to the kitchen is that wall. Sotatercept may turn these walls into open doors, and this is the wall I'm breaking. Thank you.
Breaking the Wall of Single-Use Plastics Pollution, Mariel, Bonilla, Revelo.
Every day, we unwrap food. We take parcels, and we even peel off some packages. So all of these are examples of single-use plastics. And they stay on the earth until probably thousands or hundreds of years. 400 million tons of plastic each year are produced in our world. And about 40% of it is single-use plastic. So we have a lot of contamination outside. Most of it, they are going to stay on the landfill, on the ocean, and the problem is that when they come into our body, because they become microplastics, they are going to just become smaller and smaller because they don't destroy itself. So we can find in all these parts, but they are not going to destroy. So how can we solve this problem? How can we solve the problem of the synthetic waste? Well, that's the wall that I am breaking because we are using agricultural waste to produce bio-based plastics. I start with the canola meal, which is a byproduct of the canola oil industry. And Canada produces about 5 million tons per year. So it's an available product, but it cannot be used in humans because it has toxic compounds. That's why it's mostly used for livestock feed. What we can do is the innovation part, it comes when we extract the proteins. The storage proteins called cruciferin and apin are going to be the building blocks for our new plastics. What we can have at the end is going to be this kind of plastic that can be a film or even some bio-based adhesives that they can be used for school purposes. The important is that also these proteins, these storage proteins, are not just in the canola. They also can be found in other crops, for example, in the rapeseed, in the sunflower, or even in some legumes. It means that this solution can be adapted worldwide. So for what we are going to do is this plastic is also compostable. It means that it becomes smaller and smaller pieces we can put into the soil. And then into the soil, it's just going to generate nitrogen because it's made from proteins, giving a new opportunity for the new plant to grow. So let's break the wall of the plastic pollution and let's create a new future using crops instead of crude oil to produce plastics. Thank you so much.
Breaking the Wall of Rare Disease Therapies, Harry Wilton-Clark.
Hi, everybody. Today I want to talk to you about rare disease, but I want to start by talking about one of the patients I work with, a young boy named Riley. Riley is 12 years old and has a rare disease known as Duchenne muscular dystrophy that causes muscular weakness and breakdown. Riley likes to watch hockey, he likes to play with Lego, and unfortunately, Riley is highly unlikely to live to his 25th birthday as his heart fails due to his rare disease. Unfortunately, the story of Riley is far from unique. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is just one of about 7,000 known rare diseases affecting patients around the globe. And while these diseases are individually rare, collectively, they become incredibly common. Currently, 1 in 15 children in Canada are expected to be born with at least one rare disease. Unfortunately, despite their debilitating and even fatal nature, the development of therapies for these diseases lags far behind our clinical understanding for a few key reasons. Firstly, these rare diseases have very small patient populations. This hurts our ability not only to study these diseases, but also to test and satisfy regulatory requirements when trying to develop effective therapies for them. Furthermore, drug development is expensive. It takes an average of $172 million to bring a single drug through FDA clinical trials right now. Given the tiny patient populations for some of these rare diseases and low long-term return for pharmaceutical companies, there's very little financial incentive to justify the creation of therapies for each of these debilitating rare diseases. As a result, the development of these therapies has been left in the dust. What we really need is some sort of Band-Aid therapy that can address multiple rare diseases simultaneously. More specifically, we need a genetic Band-Aid. Our group has focused on the development of antisense oligonucleotides, or what we like to call our genetic Band-Aid. This Band-Aid binds to a mutation in a patient's DNA and hides it from the body, helping to treat the disease right at the genetic level. The beauty of this approach is its modularity. The same Band-Aid with slight tweaks in the targeting sequence can be used to treat different mutations leading to the same disease or even different diseases entirely. And current reviews found that these Band-Aids are theoretically applicable to 80% of all the rare disease that stems from genetic causes. Furthermore, given the shared chemistry consistent across these Band-Aids, regardless of the disease that you're targeting, there's an accelerated regulatory pathway available that makes cheaper and faster development possible. Touching back on Riley, we actually partnered directly with him and his family and were able to develop multiple Band-Aids capable of treating his condition in cells. We're hoping to be launching clinical trials for him by year end, and we'll actually be the first group using what we call a cocktail of these Band-Aids, using multiple simultaneously that has vastly improved the applicability of this approach. We're hoping that not only will this help Riley, but it will set the foundation to position genetic Band-Aids as treatments for the untreatable in rare disease. Thank you, everyone.
Breaking the wall of islet transplantation. Aryodeep Bose.
Every day, approximately 9 million people with type 1 diabetes live by the clock. Blood sugar check, insulin, meal. Repeat, in one form or another. But there is a way beyond this relentless management every hour of every day. They receive a small dose of insulin-producing cells called islets, and then their bodies take care of the rest. That's the promise and the reality of islet transplantation. But here's the catch. Right now, these cells are delivered into the liver, where most of them die within the hours. Why? Because as soon as they hit the bloodstream, the immune system attacks them like a flash flood hitting a small village. This is known as IBMIR, or an instant blood-mediated inflammation reaction, and it wipes out an enormous portion of the graft or the cells almost immediately. Adding in the severe side effects from anti-rejection drugs, poor oxygen supply to these cells, and the fact that once delivered, it is quite challenging to actually keep an eye on these cells or take them back out if things go wrong. And we can begin to see why only 2,500 people have received this therapy in reality. Now, let me paint you a different picture. Instead of hiding the graft deep within the liver, we create a home for it just under the skin, which is a space we can engineer and control. We can pre-grow tiny blood vessels under there so that the cells don't suffocate. And here's where we sign our work by using a combination of biomaterials and mesenchymal stromal cells derived from the pancreas itself to jumpstart and maintain this growth. And here's the best part. This means there will be safer trials, adaptable therapies, and no more all or nothing, because we'll be able to easily keep an eye on these cells and if needed, replace or remove them. By moving to the subcutaneous space, or the space under the skin, what we are doing is opening the doors to something that the liver could never have given us: accessibility. Our vision is a therapy not just for a handful of people, but for millions more living with type 1 diabetes. We are moving from a black box to a transparent and upgradable platform for cell therapy, which is safer, smarter, and built for the future. Today, 2,500, but tomorrow, 250,000, if not more. The liver had its turn, but now the future of islet transplantation belongs underneath the skin, where we can perfect it and make it last. Thank you. Just give me a moment.
Breaking the wall of the disability binary, Emily Vilsack.
You are not disabled enough. That is what I've been told my entire life. You see, I have cerebral palsy. It's semi-visible. Some days you can see it, and some days you can't. But because I don't fit the disabled stereotype, I don't qualify for accessibility accommodations. And the government denies me the disability tax credit every single year. But this isn't just my story. Of the 1.3 billion people worldwide living with a disability, 1 in 5 live in the gray zone between disabled and able-bodied. They're living with chronic illness, mental health conditions, or mild physical disabilities like mine. This is not just an oversight. This is a systemic flaw. The disability binary itself renders us invisible. But here's the thing. Disability is not binary. It is a spectrum. And guess what? We already see how spectrum-based language can change lives. Take gender and sexuality, for example. What was once described as having 2 fixed labels is now being described as a spectrum, giving people the language they need to describe their identities perfectly. And now, for the very first time, I am bringing this same shift to disability. So, what's the solution? Break the binary. First, a new lexicon. Words like semi-visible, fluctuating, or episodic are helping people with hidden disabilities describe their identities in the way that they need to. Second, a visibility toolkit. Imagine clear definitions and guides for people in the gray zone, people with disabilities, and able-bodied people alike to describe disability with accuracy and respect. And lastly, a call for reform. Through my platform, Disability is Not a Binary, I've reached over 12,000 people and created programs helping over 2,600 youth. And it's not just that. This work is already creating systemic change. I have piloted spectrum-based languages with universities and advocacy partners to redesign intake forms for people with disabilities that are in the gray zone. But this isn't just about disability. This is the blueprint for breaking binaries across society, from mental health to aging to any system that pretends complexity can just be reduced to an either or. When we break the wall of the disability binary, we are not just changing definitions. We redesign systems, we reclaim identity, and we unlock visibility for millions of people like me who have existed in the gray zone. Because disability is not a binary. And when we tear down this wall, the world will finally see us and realize we are disabled enough. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next 5 finalists are presenting on topics ranging from better water recycling to nuclear safety and methane removal. In order, they are Brendan Lamarche, Tanay Kumar, Apurva Sinha, Elizabeth Arenas Diaz, and David Bariri. Breaking the wall of ABO incompatibility, Brendan Lamarche.
So I'll need some help from the audience to begin. If you're blood group O, could you raise your hand for me? Thank you. You likely know this because you've donated blood. And when you donated that blood, you were probably told that you are a universal donor. And that's great if you're donating something. But what if you needed a transplant, specifically a kidney? On average, you would wait 3 times longer than someone that was blood group AB. That's more than 1,000 days. That's 3 years longer. 100,000 people in Canada and the United States alone are waiting to receive a transplant. And in Canada, around 1 in 5 will die each year. So why is there such a gap between blood groups? Well, people who are blood group O can receive a transplant from only others that are O. They have protein structures in their blood that may attack foreign organs of a different blood group. These are called antibodies, and they act like soldiers of your immune system. But here's the surprising part. The blood groups were discovered in 1901, and the way that we define blood groups and how we test for them and those antibodies is nearly the same as it was done 125 years ago, with a simple clumping test in a tube. Now, the problem is that these traditional and blunt definitions of blood groups, A, B, and O, cause inequities in access to transplantation. Inequities that cause extended wait times, cost the healthcare system tens of millions of dollars per year, and ultimately cost patients their lives. And yet, decisions are still made today on this century-old method that only gives us a black and white image of a patient's compatibility. Our research turns this black and white image into full color, reimagining ABO compatibility as ABO histocompatibility. See, it's not just as simple as A, B, and O. There are actually subgroups within these major categories. And for the antibodies, it's not just as simple as are they there or are they not, but are they dangerous and how many are there? Thanks to recent advancements in genetic technologies, our ability to identify these subgroups is better than ever before. And here at the University of Alberta, a world's best method to measure these antibodies was recently developed. See, together, these two innovations, the genetic techniques and our ability to identify antibodies, we can see the complete picture of a patient's immune compatibility, not just their ABO label. With this method, we can better identify those who can receive a mismatch organ, and it has already been shown that 50% of people who were previously ineligible to receive an ABO-incompatible transplant were in fact eligible. This way, we'll be able to identify those patients who can have those transplants and help break down the wall of ABO incompatibility. It's time to stop letting a 1900-era test determine who gets an organ and start seeing the full picture. Thank you.
Breaking the wall of water recycling, Tanay Kumar.
We are a part of two worlds, aren't we? One of scarcity and the other of excess. On one side, nearly 2 billion people globally drink contaminated water every single day. On the other, nearly 1 billion liters of water is used daily just to produce oil. Scarcity, excess. We may be living a life of convenience, but is it not our responsibility to break this wall and close the gap between these two worlds? Well, one way to do that would be water recycling. Currently, we can disinfect the water with UV radiations, or treat it with chlorine, or pass it through filters. But UV can take up a lot of energy, chlorine can lead to harmful byproducts, and membranes sometimes are just not efficient. What's even worse is that most technologies are only effective around the surface. All right. Think of a giant jar. I'll switch the focus to me again. So think of a giant jar filled with cookies. Think of a giant jar filled with cookies. When the jar is completely full, these technologies are super helpful in reaching and grabbing a cookie. But as the jar gets more and more empty, they're just not effective. We have a piece of engineering brilliance to resolve this problem. Something so unprecedented that has never been done before. I'm not sure what you guys call them, but we call them bubbles. Well, actually, they're very tiny bubbles called microbubbles. So in our solution, we pump microbubbles deep into the wastewater. With our engineering design, we do some patented magic and fill these bubbles with reactive species, such as oxygen and nitrogen radicals. So when these bubbles come in contact with pollutants, bacteria, or even any other contaminant, they start attacking them until they are completely destroyed. And this does not happen only on the surface, but all throughout the water. That's great news, right? But is it really effective? Well, for river water, we report more than 98% removal from a cocktail solution of different micropollutants. For oil sand water, a near complete removal of the toxic acids in its composition. And what's fascinating is that even in agriculture, this bubbly water results in 150% faster plant growth than its counterparts. I'm genuinely excited, not just by the immense potential of this simple technology, but because it sets an example that sometimes we can break the wall of the biggest problems with the simplest of solutions. All we need is some engineering and some bubbles. Thank you.
Breaking the Wall of Nuclear Reactor Waste, Apurva Sinha.
Nuclear energy is among the cleanest and the lowest carbon-emitting power source, with replacing tons of coal, tanks of oil, and natural gas with just a 20-gram uranium fuel pellet. But behind this green promise lies a major challenge. That is the disposal of the radioactive waste. Radioactive waste does not only come from the spent uranium fuels, but also the stainless steel that make the reactor body. As per an article by Goldman Sachs published this year, with around 440 nuclear reactors operating in 31 countries of the world today, expected to rise to 500 by 2030, plus more 400 proposed, managing steel byproducts has become a pressing challenge. Among various steel grades, we deal with 304L and 316L, as they are extensively used in nuclear reactor parts, can withstand high temperature and pressure, and are corrosion resistant. However, over the years of exposure to radiation and heavy water, they too corrode and become radioactive. Eventually, they start releasing dangerous steel radionuclides into the coolant, where they accumulate over time as radioactive sludges. These sludges, however, are filtered out for the smooth operation of the reactor, but this brings forth a tremendous issue. That is the permanent immobilization of these steel radionuclides before placing them in the nuclear cave. Without this, they will leak into the environment and pose serious ecological and health hazards for hundreds and thousands of years. So the concern is consequential, and we propose a resilient solution. The idea is to lock these radionuclides in a borosilicate glass and obtain a stable steel-glass mixture. But why glass? Because glass has long been trusted and used by the nuclear industry to chemically lock radionuclides, attenuates radiation, and reduce their mobility and leaching. To design this mixture, we simulated the chemical composition of the corroded steel with metal oxide, and also tailored the glass framework such that it has required all the master keys to unlock these steel elements at the atomic scale and weave them in the glass matrix to obtain a durable steel-glass mixture. Further, this glass will trap all the radionuclides, and they will be made with the help of melting and rapid quenching technique. This special borosilicate glass can do total encapsulation, prevents corrosion and leaching, and provides physical and chemical durability. This makes the waste safer to pack in a metal canister before burying into the deep geological repositories for thousands of years. Therefore, we break the wall of nuclear reactor waste by making the waste silent and safe. Thank you.
Breaking the Wall of Bacterial Methane Removal, Elizabeth Arenas Diaz.
During my senior year of high school,
I was supposed to visit Pastoruri Glacier in Peru, the most beautiful and most famous glacier in my country. But that year, the glacier was closed, already melting away due to global warming. This year, the United Nations has declared 2025 the International Year of Glacier Preservation. Global warming has worsened, and one gas, greenhouse gas, deserves our special attention: methane. Methane is currently 1/3 of the current global warming, and is 80 times more powerful than CO2. Removing one molecule of methane is like removing 80 molecules of CO2. If we want to slow climate change strategically, we need to remove methane now. The problem with methane removal technologies is that the concentration of methane in air is extremely low. Only 2 molecules of methane per 1 million of molecules in the air. So huge volume of air must be processed, making the treatment expensive and difficult. Second, methane comes from landfills, livestock, and rice paddies. Difficult to treat. Once methane diffuses into the air, it quickly dilutes. Ladies and gentlemen, nature has the solution. Nature, outside, in the environment, there are bacteria eating methane. They have evolved for millions of years eating methane from the air, currently where human technology failed. Methane consumption by these bacteria accounts up to 5 to 10% of methane removal worldwide. And unlike chemical methods that require 60 degrees Celsius, they are simple. They work at ambient temperature. However, when we try to scale them up, they grow very slow at low methane concentration. And here is the breakthrough. We have discovered recently that these bacteria are living together with natural partners. But we often in industry and lab overlook this natural synergy and cultivate them, grow them alone. Research shows that if we put in the bioreactor that fails at low methane concentration, this put methane-eating bacteria and the partner bacteria together, the system becomes stable, continuing methane removal. This innovative approach has the power that these two bacteria can be used to harness the biotechnological industry. They can be used, these two bacteria, to produce food for animals and bioplastics. By harnessing this synergistic partnership, we are ready to break the wall of bacterial methane removal. Thank you very much.
Breaking the Wall of Smart Plastic, Debby.
Every single minute, a truckload of plastic ends up in our oceans. amounting to 8 million metric tons each year. And most of it, single-use packaging, used once, polluting forever. Now, this is not a new problem, but it's a growing one. And in the basket of solutions that have been proposed, there is still space for fresh thinking. Our research proposes using undervalued agricultural byproducts to come up with biodegradable plastic that not only disappears from the soil, but also is smart packaging, which can tell you whether the food that is packaged is still fresh or is now past its prime. At the slaughterhouse, up to 50% of a cow can end up in waste or as undervalued byproducts. Now, within that waste stream is cowhide or cow skin, which is rich in collagen, one of nature's most versatile biopolymers. Consider the other side of the food chain. Canada produces vast amounts of berries, Husker berries, blueberries, blackberries, you name them. And after processing them into juice or wine, the skins, also referred to as pomace, are discarded. But within these skins are natural pigments, which are quite unique, called anthocyanins. They are unique in that they change color with pH. And so imagine with me combining these two undervalued resources. Collagen for a flexible plastic film and anthocyanins as inbuilt biochemical sensors. The result? Packaging that's not only biodegradable, but also smart. You see, as food deteriorates, it releases chemicals that alter the pH within the packaging environment. And this innovation leverages that, because you can have packaging that tracks the quality of the food or the condition of the food in almost real time, reducing food wastage. And here is the kicker. As we are doing all this, we are not creating a supply chain. We are simply utilizing one that already exists. And it has potential beyond food packaging, like in medicine. When you dress open wounds, you can check if healing is on track or infection has begun to set in. And innovation doesn't have to always be something that's brand new. Sometimes it's seeing value in what we throw away. And in our lab, that means transforming animal waste into the future of smart, biodegradable plastic. Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, before we turn things back over to Tracy, first of all, weren't those 15 wonderful presentations? Aren't they fantastic? We're so proud of them. What do you think? Do you think we can convince Tanay to do his presentation one more time? All right. Breaking the wall of water recycling. Tanay Kumar.
We're a part of two worlds, aren't we? One of scarcity and the other of excess. On one side, nearly 2 billion people globally drink contaminated water every single day. And on the other, nearly 1 billion liters of water is used daily just to produce oil. Scarcity, excess. We may be living a life of convenience, but is it not our responsibility to break this wall and close the gap between these two worlds? Well, one way to do that would be water recycling. Currently, we can disinfect the water through UV radiations or treat it with chlorine or pass it through filters. But UV can take up a lot of energy. Chlorine can lead to harmful byproducts, and membranes sometimes are just not efficient. What's even worse, though, is that most technologies are only effective around a surface. Think of a giant jar filled with cookies. When the jar is completely full, these technologies are super helpful in reaching and grabbing a cookie. But as the jar gets more and more empty, they're just not effective. We have a piece of engineering brilliance to resolve this problem, something so unprecedented that has never been done before. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it, but we call them bubbles. Well, actually, they're very tiny bubbles called microbubbles. So in our solution, we pump these microbubbles deep into the wastewater. With our engineering design, we do some patented magic and fill these bubbles with reactive species such as oxygen and nitrogen radicals. So when these bubbles come in contact with pollutants, bacteria, or even other contaminants, they start attacking them until they're completely destroyed. And this does not happen only on the surface, but all throughout the water. That's great news, right? But is it really effective? Well, for river water, we report more than 98% removal of a cocktail solution of different micropollutants. For oil sand water, a near complete removal of the toxic acids in its composition. And what's fascinating is that even in agriculture, this bubbly water results in 150% faster plant growth than its counterparts. I'm genuinely excited, not just by the immense potential that this simple technology holds, but because it sets an example that sometimes we can break the wall of the biggest problems with the simplest of ideas. All we need is some engineering and some bubbles.
Wow. Okay. Told you that was going to be inspiring. Let's give all of 15 of our finalists another round of applause. Okay, so Renee is now going to escort our judges to their deliberation room. And while they do that, I want to call all 15 presenters to the front, and we're going to have an opportunity to ask them any questions that might have bubbled up while you were listening to their talks. So if I can ask you all to come up to the front. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so this is your chance. Any questions you have about the presentations, just wave your hand and Aaron will bring you a mic. This is your opportunity to learn anything you want to know about microplastics or disease treatment, breaking down binaries. Have at it.
I had a question for Emily. Yeah, you did the presentation about disability binary. I was curious if you have a current toolkit or something around the language that you use. I found that really fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it on? Hello,
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, hi, thanks for the question. Yeah, so I just convocated in June from my master's, actually. Oh, thank you. And it was actually arts-based research, so part of my final thesis was an Instagram account called Disability is Not a Binary, and through that account we kind of invite people to share stories and build an online community, and essentially through the research we had 5 of our participants build their own spectrums and continuums, so the goal right now is to take that research into my PhD to make the spectrum itself. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're doing your PhD. There's one over here.
Thank you. To Naderinejad on prostheses. Between your interface to measure where your eyes are looking and making the prosthesis work, there has to be a tremendous amount of computing to do that. Can you describe what happens there?
Yeah, in the...
Well, between getting the prosthesis to act when you're looking at something and thinking about doing something with it.
Yeah, I understand, yeah. Thank you for the question, yeah. There are a couple of steps in between. Once you identify the intention, we call it eye fixations. We have to compute the naturalistic hand movement that we need, and then using AI models or inverse kinematics and dynamics, we calculate joint angles and consequently joint moments, so they could be input to the prosthetic model.
Make it sound easy.
Yeah.
To Wilton-Clark. Could you tell us what antisense oligos are? A lot of people probably won't know.
So those are small DNA-like molecules. It's almost exactly the same as what you would see in your own DNA with the chemistry, but then it has a modified chemistry in the back that helps it float around the body a little bit better and stops it from getting broken down by your kind of natural immune system. That's our genetic Band-Aid chemistry.
Kostiantyn? Yes, could you tell us a little bit more about PAH? I must have missed what it stood for, who it affects, and what the disease is like.
Yeah, so this is a disease that affects vessels inside the lungs, and it's basically really high pressure. You may think it of arterial hypertension of the lungs. It actually affects more females than males, like in 4-to-1 ratio. And it's really deadly because when we look at the heart, your left side is the one who does the most job, and the right side of the heart is really weak. That's why this disease basically aggravates really fast. And that's why like a lot of people die within 5 years.
I just had a question for today. I don't know if this is a stupid question or if it's just, because it just seems very, very simple. Do you just pump the reactive species, just any of them, straight into the dirty water and it just kind of boils the bacteria out? Is that essentially how that works, or?
Not exactly. Thank you for the question, by the way. So that's where the patented magic part came around. So basically, we try to create reactive species at room temperature, and with a structure, we fill them up within the bubbles. So bubbles, whenever they're, eventually they'll explode, right? So eventually, whenever they're in the water, they explode, and whenever they're in contact with any pollutant or bacteria on that particular region, it starts attacking them or degrading them, and that leads to basically what the water getting clean. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
So yes, again, I have a question for the bubble project. Do you have any estimation of the cost and economic aspects of the bubble?
Yes. The bubble part of it itself is extremely economical because I use the term pump, but technically we are not using an actual pump to bring the bubbles in. We have created a venturi tube, and through that we are able to just get the air in, and just using physics or chemical engineering, we are able to put the bubbles into the water. So the bubbling part essentially has no cost. The reactive species cost, that's the ingenuity of the technology, where we do it at room temperature, and that makes it really cheap because usually plasma is generated at high temperatures.
Okay, I think we're gonna, the questions are amazing, but we're gonna take one more, I think, and then in the interest of making sure everyone gets food and drink before we announce the winners, we're gonna go to reception. So let's do one more question. These are amazing. I wish we had another hour.
Thank you for the presentation. I have one question from, the bubble man. I'm wondering, I'm just curious, you're talking about some radical molecules. As far as I know, they're super reactive. So how they're going to store them, or how they're going to just keep them and inject them in the water, because they're going to react with just themselves?
Right, great question. And especially a lot of the lifetime of a lot of these species is extremely small. So they tend to either react or go to a more stable state. The thing is that the reactive species are being created immediately. So what we are doing is that what is being brought into the device is technically just normal air. But by the time it reaches into the water, in that time span, which will be in milliseconds or microseconds, at microseconds probably, that is when the reactive species get created. So it's not the storing of reactive species, something that we don't really have to worry about. I can tell you more detail once we meet,
Wow. Okay. Thanks, everyone, for your really insightful questions. One more round of applause. Thanks to all of our finalists. And now we have some snacks and some drinks just outside. So please go enjoy yourselves. Ask other questions. Seek them out, and we'll come back in about 20 minutes and find out who wins the trip to Berlin. Ready? Let's do it. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I feel like we need a drum roll or some kind of dramatic music to play. So, there we go. There we go. Okay, hold. It's a little premature. Hang on, but I will come back for that. So the members of our jury have done their hard work. They're back, and they've made those nearly impossible decisions. Thank you, jury, for taking on this difficult task. We appreciate your work. Can I ask again for all 15 of our superb finalists to come up to the front of the room, and let's give them a huge round of applause as they walk up. Well done, everybody. Congratulations to all of you. You are all incredible and amazing. The way that you've conveyed your research tonight has been just truly inspirational for everybody in the audience. We trust that every minute that you've devoted to your Falling Walls entry will pay off for you in the future. We want to thank you for joining the family. I think, as you noticed as you go through the training, you get to be friends and, form a little community of kind of Falling Walls 3MT presenters. So welcome to the family. We hope to keep you in it and to see you at future competitions. But unfortunately, this is a competition, and we do need to name the winners. And so now the drum roll. We need the drum roll now. Okay. Now is the moment we've been waiting for. So if I can ask our jury to come down to the front. And before we announce the winners, I'm going to give Sophia and Peter, I think, a chance to give us some general reactions and thoughts about all of our wonderful finalists. So I'll turn it over to Sophia and Peter.
Yes. Firstly, great job, amazing and so inspirational. And so tonight I could really feel the spirit of entrepreneurship, innovation, and community in this room. And what each of you have spent however much amount of time over the past few years, few months in being able to prepare for this event, it really speaks volumes as far as your grit and your perseverance. And I encourage all of you to keep going, and thank you to all of your supporters. It takes a community to take an idea and through to fruition. So grow your community and your network, and keep going.
Thank you, Sophia, and thank you everyone for having me on the jury for the first time. I have to say I was a little bit nervous, and it was not an easy task to judge because of the quality of all the presentations. What I wanted to share with you is a little bit of a story, a personal story. When I was doing my PhD at the University of Alberta, somebody said to me, well, Peter, if you are not able to describe your research idea on the back of your business card, then your research idea is not good at all. And then I thought about this competition, which is 3 minutes. 3 minutes to describe your entire research and convince people that it is important. It is pretty much like putting your research idea on the back of your business card. And you guys all succeeded in this, which is a fantastic achievement. You should be all very proud of what you are achieving. And the only thing I will also add is never doubt yourself. Be always confident in what you do and continue on the journey of your success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Debbie and Darren, who are going to announce our third place recipient. Should we use this?
Okay, we have not practiced this. and we don't have an envelope, we just have a piece of paper that we're going to unfold. So the third place winner for breaking the wall of
water recycling
is
Tanae Kumar.
Congratulations. I was joking that you have a new name now, Bubble Man. Now, Peter, if you would announce our second place winner.
Thank you, Tracy. So the second place winner is for breaking the wall of ABO incompatibility, Brendan Lamarche.
Congratulations. And now, Sophia, one more drum roll. If you can please come and announce our first place winner, who will represent Falling Walls Lab Edmonton in Berlin.
Thank you. First place winner of Breaking the Wall of Rare Disease Therapies is Harry Wilton-Clark.
Thank you. And good luck in Berlin. We're all going to be watching and cheering you on. Where did he go? Oh, yeah, you disappeared. Yeah, I was like, he's gone to Berlin already. Fantastic. And we can't conclude today's celebration without putting our hands together a few more times. The first time for our wonderful judges. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, and your insights. It's really appreciated. And let's give it all up one more time for all 15 of our talented presenters. Bravo. You all just have made us so proud. It's amazing. I'm again going to feel filled with inspiration for the coming weeks and days as I think about all of your presentations tonight. The GPS professional development team has worked on this project and worked with all of our participants to get them prepared for the competition. And so I want to shout out especially to this team, Renee Polzine, Rob Desjardins, Jay Friesen, he's here somewhere, probably hiding, and Aaron Sanderman. Put your hand up and let us give you a round of applause. Thank you so much for all your work on the competition and all the other initiatives that you work on throughout the year. Now, I understand that Rob has a few notes of thanks that he'd like to share on behalf of the organizers, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Rob.
Thank you, Tracy. And we on the PD team want to begin by thanking you and Debbie Debby is, to Mighty Deans of Graduate Studies for all your support and advocacy. It just means so much in bringing an event like this to the campus and to the community. So thank you both very much. Thank you. Great public speakers, too. We're also grateful to our friends in the U of A Development and Alumni Relations units, Michelle Murray, Lisa Haruther, and their colleagues for helping us to spread the word. Misa Jablonski in the Chancellor's Office has offered kind help, as have the staff in VPIE, including Savannah Lane and Leanne Petrin. Tracy mentioned our partnership with USask, which is really important for us and has been really productive. We've worked hand in glove with our colleague in their College of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies, Dr. Kenesha Blair Walcott. And we just wanted to mention her name one more time because she, along with Debby, has done so much to make tonight a reality. And it's been a joy to team up with them. By the way, whether you're here in person or tuning in, probably like Kenesha, online tonight, you're benefiting from the great work of Claire Peters, Chris Wang, and the AV experts in the Arts Resource Center. So thanks very much for them for doing all the AV. And as you said, Tracy, our finalists have learned a lot this month, I think it's fair to say. And a big part of that has been the expert coaching that they received from Peter Keith in eHub. He just offered tremendous help again this year. And what you saw today on this stage was sort of a combination of their brilliance and his great advice. It's a beautiful alchemy, so thanks, Peter. We really appreciate all you do. And finally, big thank you to our colleagues in the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies, our communications people, Ashley and Lily, and Andrea and Bobby, wonderful Andrea Porty and Bobby Chistel, who you saw in the doing front of house. Wonderful people to work with as well. So thank you to them.
Okay, thanks everybody. One more note. I talked to a few students during the break, but if you're an early career researcher with a story to tell, please come back and consider doing Falling Walls Lab Edmonton next year. We will do it all over again, and as you can see, the results are remarkable for everyone. So thank you everybody for sharing this night with us. Have a great night.